Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Hello, everybody. I am Ross Morasso, and welcome to the show. My guest today, Tammie Lowell, Master Herbalist, based out of Florissant, Colorado, part of the, I believe, Lakota Nation. And
Correct.
and you could find her at OyateHerbals.com, OyateHerbals for Herbals. And what I find fascinating about this is that a lot of her recipes are hundreds, if not maybe even, over 1,000 years old, as they go all the way back to time and Earth itself. Tammie, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Ross. Good to be here.
Happy New Year to you.
Same to you.
As I'm sitting here in our cold winter months, I'm sorry to say that I am not in Florida. However, not that they're necessarily being spared. Sicknesses abound, right? Sniffles and coughs and eye watering. What do you have that can help us with this stuff? How do I get through my winter?
Oh, you need to boost that immune system. So we've got several different options. A lot of people really sway towards elderberry. You have echinacea, astragalus, osha root. Osha is very sacred to the Lakota. We use that in a lot of our sacred ceremonies. So those are probably my go-tos. I do make a tincture that actually has a combination of all of them that is designed. It's all called Immune Boost. And I actually had several different people that when COVID hit, when the pandemic really hit, have taken it and have avoided it altogether. So, I mean, the key to staying healthy is taking care of yourself. Keep that immune system, up there so it can fight against anything that's going to come around. We've talked in the past, Ross, about CBDs. That also helps boost that immune system, helps with that, endocannabinoid system. And so there's a lot of options, but the main thing is boost that immunity, eat healthy, drink water, vitamins, vitamin Bs.
Get our rest, right?
Yes. Yeah. Good rest, take care of yourself. I mean, that's huge to be able to live a healthier, happier lifestyle.
Let me ask you, backing up a bit, you were rattling off some natural ingredients there. So like elderberries, and some of these I've never heard of. How was it, if and this goes back a minute, but you've been trained, right, to be an herbalist over the years. And so where do these things come from? Where does elderberries come from?
Well, actually, elderberries is very abundant through the United States. So it's been something that has been used for hundreds of years. People used to make, elderberry syrups and things, or they would just eat them, put them in their foods as indigenous cultures would. And that's how they started realizing that it was healthy for him. Most of all of the stuff that has been researched in science is taken from the indigenous cultures all over the world.
So I just thought of a cynical joke in my head of I'm sorry, do you mean to believe that the United States culture is ripping off other cultures? That happens?
No, that would never happen, Ross.
So elderberries, you could just eat these straight up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you eat them in high quantities, they may give you a little bit of a bellyache because they'll definitely flush your system out.
What do they taste like?
But they're actually a sweet berry. They're not too bad. So, depending on, there's a couple of different kinds. You've got regular elderberry, which is a red one, and then you have black elderberry, which I actually lean towards because it's higher in antioxidants. It also carries a higher vitamin C content to it. So, and that, that vitamin C's, vitamin A, vitamin D, though, zinc, all of those you can either, go and take as a supplement, but you always want to make sure you get something that doesn't have all the fillers in it, or you can just lean towards like elderberry and other herbs that actually has them in the plant or the berry naturally.
It's something I've heard you mention this before, echinacea, and that's it's a $2 word, but I think that a lot of us have heard that. What is echinacea?
Echinacea is a plant.
Okay.
It's actually put in if you want to do, I won't get into the botanical forms with you, but it's a weed. And it is growing and it flourishes in very many areas of the United States. The best thing to use on it is like the leaves or the flowering part of it has the most botanical benefits for you.
Now I'm going to kind of keep running down this list. So I'm going to have a few standard questions. So with these leaves, is this something that you can eat directly, or does it need to be processed in some way?
No, actually, you can eat it directly. I have people that use the echinacea flower. They'll take it and put it inside their salads just to help, boost the immune system.
And it doesn't taste disgusting?
Um, there's an acquired taste, I'll tell you that, but us herbalists and people who like to go down the botanical road, we have an acquired taste after years of doing it.
Now, if a tincture, I think is something that I think you've told me in the past, you put this under your tongue, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
in that case, you might be getting some of the flavor in there.
A little bit. And echinacea is really not that pungent. It
Okay,
depends on how strong you actually make that tincture. So I like a 1 to 3 combination. You start making a 1 to 1 combination, and it's going to be a little bit more pungent.
got it. So you listed off 5 or 6 of these particular herbs that are good for the immune system. What were some of the other ones you referenced?
Astragalus.
All right, so that's definitely one I've never heard of before. So what's astragalus? It sounds like it's a big
Astragalus is
castle.
also another, yeah, it's also another flowering plant.
Okay,
And you can use the flower, you can use the leaf, you can use the root of the whole plant. So I like to use the entire plant because you're not missing any of the essential minerals or anything that would be inside of it that would be beneficial for you medicinally. So, but astragalus works very, very well. People don't seem to build up an immunity as much to astragalus as they do to echinacea. After use of echinacea over time, your body can start building up an immunity to it, and it doesn't seem to be as effective. So the combination is really nice using it together.
so would you take astragalus? You take the whole plant, so potentially, roots and then the stalk and the branches, leaves, and would that all be like ground up together, and that way you kind of get an evened out mixture of everything the plant has to
Correct.
offer?
Yeah, and you could then put it into a really nice herbal combination for a tea. Mix it with, I have some people that like mixing it with eucalyptus, astragalus and eucalyptus, because it boosts the immunity, and eucalyptus opens up the pores and things like that. They'll do that. They'll add it with skullcap, which is another really good antioxidant and antibacterial type of an herb. So they like it in tea a lot. They'll mix it there. I am a tincture person. I like my teas, but tinctures are so much easier. You can just carry it with you, use it in at any part of the day. You don't have to worry about it. You just drop it under your tongue, hold it for a count of 20, and off you go.
So explain to me a tincture then. This is a bottle of liquid or a powder, or like what is, when you say a tincture, like what do I have in my hand, and then how do I use it?
Well, there's a couple of different forms of tinctures. You can get ones, you can either have it in a alcohol form, which you basically, heat it to a certain point, derive the medicinal parts into the grain alcohol, and then you have your tincture. They're a little bit more pungent, a little harder to stand. So I think that's why a lot of people that have tried herbs, because it's probably the most common, it kind of sways away from tinctures because with the alcohol it can be very strong. You get a longer shelf life, but I prefer what's called a glycerite. And I use a organic vegetable glycerin. It's more plant based, a
Okay.
lot healthier for you, and it has a sweeter taste to it, so it's much more pleasant on the tongue.
And then do I put it on top of my tongue, under my tongue? How long do I leave it in my mouth for?
Underneath your tongue. You're gonna put it under your tongue, and the go-to is about count to 20 and hold and then swallow.
Okay. So astragalus, that was the last one. There was another one that you had mentioned.
Osha root. Osha root, or
Osha
we also
root.
call it bear root. The Osha has been used for centuries by the Lakota. It's a very, very sacred root. It's used in many, many of our ceremonies, of our sweat lodges, our sun dances. But it also is very good to help boost the immunity. It also strengthens the lungs and helps with lung tissue. So it's really nice because it targets certain areas of the body, especially the upper respiratory sinuses. So that way it's a great complement to some of the other, like the astragalus or the echinacea.
Okay, and are they all these found in the United States, or do you have to go internationally to drum up all these different herbs and
The ones
roots?
that I've spoke about, I can usually get in the United States, but I do go internationally for a lot of my other herbs. Yeah, I actually had to, when I built my late husband's phytotherapy tincture for his cancer. I people we joked because I literally went to Siberia to get some of the herbs. They're like, kind of, I had to go to Siberia. Well, I did. I had to message some herbalists that I know over there to get a specific herb called mountain germander. And it's the only place that it grows that you can get it and get it fresh in bulk.
For some of us who are maybe thinking we want to be a little more cavalier about this, are there dangers of wolfing some of these things down, not under any sort of supervision by someone such as yourself?
Oh, absolutely. There's still medicine. It's just because it's a plant. Oh yeah, it can still have a lot of very powerful effects on the body. I would never recommend anybody just go out and go, "Oh yeah, no, I need some dandelion, to take care of this." But in high doses, dandelion is going to keep you sitting on the toilet for a while. I mean, and that's just the minor effects of it. So yeah, I absolutely recommend talk to a professional herbalist, talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, because yeah, you can hurt yourself. You could have side effects with any type of a prescription medication that you're taking. You could have major effects that could harm you. Mm-hmm,
Okay, so getting away a little bit from just boosting our immune system,
mm-hmm.
if we got sick, can these things help us on the other side of the fence there too?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. There have been several of my clients that ended up with COVID, or with the flu or whatever. The best thing to do though is, like, preventative. I mean, predictable is preventable, I always say. So if you can prevent it, it's great. But if you can't, and it does happen, if you do end up getting sick, start immediately. The minute you start thinking about those kind of things, you can still add all of the immune stuff. You still have to boost the immunity to start out with. But there are, one of my best go-tos is oregano oil. Oregano oil is an antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. So it really is great for sinus infections. It's even known to kill strep throat.
Hmm.
So yes, there are herbs out there. I mean, like I said, it's been one of my go-tos for years is oregano oil. And you get that in your system fairly quickly, depending on if it's like RSV or some type of an upper respiratory. It can usually really get you, if you're adding it in with the other immune boost herbs and vitamins. You can turn this around in just a couple, 2, 3 days, and start feeling better and kick it and not have to worry about going to a physician to get some type of an antibiotic. Because even if it's viral, they don't give you antibiotics for that anymore anyway. So yeah, they're just like, you ride it out.
Yeah, give it 2 weeks and come back to me if something's still going
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah.
And you don't
But
want to
yeah,
hear that.
oregano oil and all of that stuff, that will definitely shorten the duration of the virus. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, you'd said virus, you also had mentioned antifungal, right? So
Yes.
you can get sometimes things on like your nails, or they have like if you're looking at traditional medicine, like a Lotrimin or something, right? Like that would be something that would be designed to help with that. So can something like an oregano oil or other things that you have do the job in place of something like a Lotrimin?
Yes, absolutely. Oregano oil and tea tree I use a lot of times topically in my healing salves, to help people with different type of funguses. A lot of times they'll use it for psoriasis and eczema, because that can come from a fungus as well. Not always, but yeah.
Right. So
It
bacteria and
can stem
fungus,
from that.
right? That's an alive
Yeah,
organism. And so is
yeah.
like oregano oil just considered poison to these bacteria and funguses? Is that how
Correct.
it
Yeah.
works?
Yeah. It kills it off. Yeah. Yeah. Tea tree or melaleuca is another good one that is also. I don't I'm not somebody who recommends tea tree oil to take internally. I'm more of a topical person on it. And then the oregano oil you could go both ways. You could go either internal or topical with that one.
Now, is there any risk, like if someone gets a rash and they're not sure what it is, and as you say, prevention is key, but then the next step would be is to tackle an ailment as soon as possible, right? If you did have it. So is
Right.
oregano oil something that if we had some redness or something somewhere, we could just put on our hand, like just to be on the safe side, or do you not want to use it unless you have an issue?
Depending on the form, I
Mm.
don't recommend any type of an essential oil because it's so concentrated without some type of a carrier. I never tell people to put any type of essential oils directly on the skin. Now, on a tincture form where it's not as concentrated, sure, you could put a couple of drops on there and see if it does help the redness or the itching. And you can go from there. I mean, a lot of times that is a good start to see if that rash is coming from fungus versus another type of form of that would have caused it.
Okay, so you do essential oils as well.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you said they're more highly concentrated. You want to put them directly on the skin. So what is the application for that? Like if I got an essential oil from you that you said would help me with something, how do I use it then?
I would recommend you put it inside of a carrier oil, or I can do that for you.
Mm,
I carry several different lotions that already have the essential oils put into it at the right menstruation, so that way it's going to be effective for what you're doing topically. And that way you don't have to do it. But yeah, if somebody just wants to buy the essential oil, I do have different types of carriers that you can use for it. There's roller bottles, and then you just want to make sure that you use my recommendations on how you're going to mix them together to put it. And it's drops, literally just drops inside of these carriers. You're not putting a half a bottle; it's drops.
So
Yeah,
is
I
it
can't stress that enough.
like a 10 to 1 sort of thing, as you would be diluting it, or?
More like a 20 to 1.
Oh, okay. So they are
Yeah,
very, very concentrated.
very highly concentrated. Yeah.
If I
Mm-hmm.
can ask you, you say all these new terms. What's a roller bottle?
A roller bottle basically looks just like a long perfume tube that has oil in it, and it has a roller on it, kind of like a deodorant would be, but it's very
Okay.
small and thin, and you can just roll it on to the pulse points or wherever you need. And it's a very nice application. So that way you don't have to worry about carrying something large like a lotion bottle with you. They're very compact. Women like them to put on there. I have some of them that wear them just as like a perfume in a natural sense versus a synthetic cologne.
For those of you who've tuned in, not at the exact beginning here, I'm talking with Tammie Lowell, Native American from Lakota Nation, and master herbalist, and we're talking about how to not get sick, and then if you happen to, how to get healthy quicker. And so we're running through. She's giving me a big science lesson here, and I want to shift gears just a little bit here. Before I do that, though, you can find her at oyateherbals.com, and that's Oyate herbals.com. So something else that you deal with, and I'm really fascinated by this topic, I could talk about it endlessly, is now this emergence of CBDs.
Yes.
And you hear anywhere from it's a bunch of hocus pocus to a straight up miracle drug. But as I'm noticing, as the longer time has gone on, so since 2018, the government has approved CBDs for use nationwide, so long as it's been removed from the THC component of the cannabis plant. And
Correct.
as time has gone on, the naysayers and the hocus pocusness of it, my term, is starting, it seems like, fortunately, being drowned out now by actual data coming in. So you have these
Yes.
customers, and of course, you're in Colorado, right? So you were on one of the ground zeros of the legalization movement.
Right.
How are you feeling about cannabinoid CBDs in terms of prevention versus a cure or treatment for things?
Oh, I think it's a wonderful start, especially for prevention. Um, it directly works with that endocannabinoid system, which is directly related to our thyroid, our thymus, everything that is connected to our base system that we need to restore homeostasis the way our body is supposed to be. So if we can do that and be able to rebalance that so our bodies can do what they're designed to do, hey, that's huge. And that's why it is such, everybody's like, oh, yeah, it's a miracle. It cures everything. Well, yes and no. It's got that great anti-inflammatory properties. It's got a lot of relaxation properties. It has all that. But the best property is it helps you restore your own natural balance so your body can heal itself.
So
You can't find another plant out there that has it in that higher quantities for that's out there. It's got the highest quantities of the cannabis, the cannabinoids to be able to help you. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing.
has science yet or studies yet learned specifically what, to the best of your knowledge? I mean, I think there's been enough studies to say it's helping with
Yes.
this ailment or that ailment. Like that's starting to become sort of undisputable. I've been reading online since getting to know you about massive universities, the Mayo Clinic. I mean, real big institutionalized type
Yes.
institutions and organizations that are studying this stuff and coming off with results. Have you heard about any of the specifics as to like why it's working, like what exactly it's doing and how it's interacting with our body?
Well, and like I just mentioned, that direct connection with the thyroid glands, the
Oh,
thymus, everything, that central healing system, and the way it works with the synaptors of the brain to be able to rebalance things. Um, Having that there is huge, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I started using it. It also they've and you said you've been doing your research, but it also shows, well, any anti-inflammatory. I mean, pain comes from inflammation 90% of the time. Even for like the cancer industries, helping with the uh, treatments of people with chemo and radiation. It's helping with appetite. It does um, uh, helps with nausea, things like this, and they're huge about that on what it can do. It and they've done studies of having where it does have anti-cancer properties in it. So it's huge. It's I and there's more studies all the time. I think the last time we had talked, I'd given you the website. I don't know if you was able to go to that had the top 20 um, universities that were studying this at that point in time, which for people can always go back and listen on Spotify because I found all of our stuff on Spotify recently.
yes,
So
we are available on Spotify.
yes, yeah. So it was really kind of cool. So anybody who hasn't been able to hear the other ones, go to Spotify because it's got some great information on the last one we talked about with the CBD.
So is with cancer treatments, backing up 10 years, there was more of as a supplement to your cancer treatments, using cannabis in its totality, including the psychoactive, the THC component. Is
Yes.
the is CBD starting to be looked at by cancer treatment organizations as being the piece that we needed, and they don't feel the need to use the sort of other side of the cannabis plant, and it's just CBD, or are they still using both? I should
I
ask.
don't think I yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think they're quite there yet. They're absolutely entertaining it. They're looking at it as a alternative or an addition to their treatments. They're not totally against it anymore. They're willing to say, yeah, okay, it's not affecting the chemo, it's not affecting the radiation treatments. So they're
Mm.
allowing cancer patients to use it more often now. It's more acceptable. I don't think they're thinking of it more on, oh, well, this is helping or to help benefit. They're still on the fence with that from everybody that I'm dealing with.
Okay, so with well, change comes slowly, right?
Yes.
Um, with your store, Oyate Herbals,
Mhm.
you have CBD products. So we just have a couple of minutes left. So tell us a little bit about what people can find at your store.
Okay. Well, we carry a full line of high potency, full spectrum tinctures. We also carry CBD gummies in a fuller range of for calming. For I have one that has zinc and D3s and stuff to help elderberry that helps boost the immune system. I also carry dog treats to help our pets. So yeah, and then my one and only famous that everybody can't live without, my CBD pain salve that every elder I think out there uses to keep them going because they've had different surgeries and things like that, and they're back to walking and at least being able to function without being in pain.
So tell me a little bit more about this. We just have a couple minutes left, but when you say pain salve, so what are you saying? Like CBD take the pain away?
Well, when you uh merge it with other herbs, absolutely. My pain salve actually has four different anti-inflammatories in it. We have comfrey, which actually stimulates new cell growth. So we're
Mm.
and we're going to bring the healthy cells to fix any damage that could possibly be there. We have arnica, which is a wonderful pain reliever. A lot of people use arnica for pain. It also has calendula, which is really good for the skin. It also helps speed up the healing process. And then it has 100 milligrams of Rick Simpson oil, which is a very highly concentrated form of CBD. So you have the four anti-inflammatories. I also use different essential oils, which helps open up those pores so it goes directly in to the muscles. I've actually seen it take three different people's torn rotator cuffs. Granted, we didn't have a complete separation. We still had something that was just tear, heal it,
Okay.
put it back together, and they kept him out of surgery. So it's a wonderful salve. It really, really is done. It's impressed me, even though I made it. I was like, wow, this does wonders, even more than what I thought it would.
What do you call it?
It's just my extra strength CBD pain salve.
Extra strength CBD pain salve. Okay, to
Yep.
look that up or to contact you. So before we go here, then, Tammie, it's a pleasure to talk with you as always. So tell everybody all the places where they can find you online or in the real world.
Okay. Well, they can always go to my website, order online. I ship all over the United States at oyateherbals.com. I do several different shows throughout Colorado. You can always
Hmm.
follow me on Instagram or Facebook. You'll always know where I'm at. Or
What do
you
they
can
search
come.
for on Instagram and whatever to find you?
Oyate Herbals. Yeah,
Okay.
everything is under Oyate Herbals. Or they could just, look me up, Tammie Lowell. You'll find me either way. I also have two different apothecaries, one in Florissant, Colorado, the other in Lake City, Colorado. Or you can get all of my direct contact information, my phone number, and just give me a call.
All right. Sounds good. Tammie, thank you so much for being on the show today. As always, welcome you back anytime that I have a chance to talk to you again. And thank you to
Thanks, Rob.
everybody else who has tuned in today. I am Ross Morasso. Until next time.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.